In this episode of Crystal Uncorked, I am chatting with an old friend, Kate Edgecombe of Strawberry Wine Company. And she's not actually that old of a friend, but we met a few years ago and haven't got to see each other and talk to each other for a couple of years because she used to work at this great wine lounge in Carlsbad and she really made it great. Robin and I, my friend Robin, who you've seen on the show possibly, would go in there often. We tried to go as much as we could because they had such great wines, such great tastings. We learned about the wines. And Kate was there just teaching us and we really became friends. And then shortly after, unfortunately, Kate left this wine lounge, but she started her own wine. She made her own wine called Strawberry Wine Company. And it's a very unique story and niche. I'll just say, if you like country music and wine, I think you are going to love this episode. And I know you're going to love Kate's wine because it's so good. I highly recommend that you check out her wine, follow her on Instagram, Strawberry Wine Company. She's also Wine Sass, and we'll link to all of this. But just for such a delicious wine. And in this episode, you're just going to hear about the whole process of what she wanted to bring to life, how it all was born, which is pretty neat. And look, if you don't like country music, don't worry, you're still going to love this wine. You're still going to love this story, and you're going to love Kate. She has so much wine education and teaches us so much in this episode. And I just had chills so many times throughout our recording because she was just saying things that I just feel like are so bold and powerful and right on and in alignment with what she should be doing and with the industry. And I just really loved our conversation. So I'm also very excited to say and announce that we are doing a virtual wine tasting with Strawberry Wine Company. She has 2 wines available. She has a 3rd that's coming soon, and she releases the type of wine she is coming out with next on my show. I was one of the very first people to hear it. So I'm so excited. So we are going to do a virtual tasting of her 3 wines. Date is to be determined, but be sure to follow on Instagram at Crystal Uncorked. That'll be the best place to hear about the virtual tasting. She really makes wine less intimidating, and you just learn so much from Kate. I love chatting with her. I could chat with her forever. So let's dive into this episode. Hello, I'm Crystal Vilkaitis. I'm a curious, wine-loving entrepreneur who loves to learn and have open and honest conversations. Join me and my amazing guests as we talk about all sorts of relatable business and life stuff. It's my goal that you'll have fun, learn something new, and get inspired. Wine is not required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. Kate, welcome to Crystal Uncorked. I am thrilled that you are here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is a really special episode, in my opinion, because we are trying Kate's wine. She is the winemaker. I have known Kate for a few years through visiting a wine lounge that she worked at. And then I heard that she made her own wine. And it's like, oh my God, you got to be on the show. So Kate, before we taste, can you tell me and the audience about Strawberry Wine Company? We're going to talk a lot more about it, and I've been dying to taste your wine. So give us the boilerplate, and then we'll go deeper.
So quick and dirty, I've been in the wine industry a long time, and I always wanted to do my own project. I just didn't know what direction it was going to be. And so I kind of took a gamble and did a very niche direction where I wanted to focus on something that combined my 2 passions, which are wine and music. So that is the premise behind it. And so I came up with it in a concert, and then the next day called one of my winemaker friends in Paso Robles, and I was like, can I do this? Am I crazy? And he's like, no, you're not crazy. Let's do it. So that's kind of how it started. And yeah, so this, what we're tasting is our first red. So it's a Cabernet Sauvignon made in Paso Robles. It's 2015 vintage, and yeah, I can't wait for you to taste it.
Okay, and I just have to
since
say on the back of the bottle, I love when the winemaker puts like the tasting notes on the bottle because I always like to guess, but I don't always know if like that's how they would categorize it. So I love that you have done this. We've got black cherry, cooked raspberry, strawberry, blackberry jam, chocolate mocha, bell pepper, cinnamon, and coffee toffee. Oh my God, this sounds incredible. Okay.
yeah, so that was super important to me because I am in the industry and I am a sommelier. As you know, I've served you many, many times. And when
Yes.
you're face to face with me, I have the opportunity to share this with you, but I wanted a piece of me on every bottle so that you knew what I was tasting and that you could taste it too. I want wine to be simple and user friendly because it's not complicated. You don't have to make it be.
Yes, and it can be. It can
Hmm.
also be a very intimidating industry, and that is why I love something like this. Like I just love the bottle already. All right, so here we go, girl. You have the same wine, right?
I do.
Yay. Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, I should. Ugh. Oh my God, Kate.
So I'm
Oh my
actually really
God.
curious because you are a Paso Cab girl. So
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so I'm like getting better with my description, but I'm still not there. I find myself saying all the time, "Oh, it's so smooth. It's so good." I'm like, I need new words. I totally pick up the bell pepper.
mhm.
That is like definitely something for me, as well as like a darker fruit. Um, it kind of is bold, which, and I feel like I use that word a lot, but I don't know. I feel like I
Well,
need different words, but
do you want like the science behind why you're saying these
yes,
things?
I absolutely
Okay.
do.
So just to get a little wine geeky for a minute. So
Yeah.
um Cabernet Sauvignon is the grape, right? And that grape is known for a couple different things. It's one of the most tannic. So it has like it's really thick skinned and really dark color. So that's why you get those dark fruit flavors because the skins are so thick. And a characteristic in Cabernet Sauvignon in particular, and in the whole Sauvignon family, um, I guess I can back up a little bit. Cabernet Sauvignon has two parents. You have Sauvignon Blanc and Cab Franc. And it gets two different things from both parents. So you can get like the fruitiness and stuff like that from the Sauvignon Blanc. And then from the Cab Franc, you get what's called pyrazines, which are anything green. So, like green bell pepper, jalapeno, spicy characteristics. And that is literally a chemical compound of this grape. So, it is characteristically why you would get some of these things from this wine. And I wanted this wine to be like varietally correct because you can make Cabernet taste, you know, very different depending on the winemaking practices. But I wanted it to be varietally correct, which I think it is. And then, you get those dark fruits, which typically you would in a Cabernet anyway. But, I just think it's when you're tasting red wine, there's three camps that you can be in. You can be in like the red fruit camp, so like cherries, pomegranates, raspberries. You can be in the black fruit camp, so like blackberry, um, black plum, dark, rich flavors, and then the blue camp. So I always just like a tip is try to pick like a camp, right? Like you don't have to know exactly what fruit is in it or like what you're tasting, but try to pick a category, red, blue, or black. And then you'll notice, in Pinots, you get more red fruits like tart cherry and pomegranate and cranberries and, those kind of things. And cabs, you get more darker fruits.
Right. Okay. So what was the blue camp?
So the blue camp is like it's only in a few different things, but it's like blueberries, boysenberries, that kind of thing,
Okay.
like alala
Okay.
berries, which you would get. It's kind of like blue purple. So a Syrah is blue purple. You get like those boysenberry bluer. It's not really red, it's not really black, but it's like this. Syrah is the best example of what that blue
Yeah.
purple category is.
Awesome. So I feel like I'm probably black, but I like am sort of liking more Pinots. I have a friend that is like a major Pinot guy and he buys really nice wine. So we're trying really nice wine. But I never like go to Pinot. I've talked about this on the show and I would love your take on this. I did a tasting a few years ago in Temecula and she said, look at the alcohol percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, so I noticed that you're 14%. She's like, if there's a percentage, that's what you like. So if you don't know what to buy, look at the alcohol percentage. And so for me, what I have found is that 14% or 15%, kind of the bigger, bolder, I really like those. If it's like a 12 or 13, I'm not. So I kind of am like snobby, I feel like about it now. If it's a 13% or something, I'm like, oh, I don't want to try that. What do you think about that?
I don't love that as a rule of thumb. There's
Okay.
a couple of reasons why I don't love that. Historically, it could be true. And I mean, I haven't served you in a couple years, but I used to be really good at like, oh, I know exactly what you're going to like because, I just pick up on things and you always really did like these beautiful, rich flavors. But I would put other things like throw curveballs at you that you wouldn't typically. So I don't want you to
Right.
self limit in that.
Right.
But alcohol content, right? Like if we're going back sciencey a little bit, is yeast that's during the fermentation process eats sugar and poops carbon dioxide and alcohol. So to get a higher alcohol wine, you have to have a higher sugar content wine, and like any fruit, right? Like any crop in the world, the warmer it is. Like if you have a like a peach and it's in a super warm area, it's going to be this like super sweet peach. So it's the same concept with grapes. If you're growing in a warmer region, you're going to have a higher sugar content because that's just how naturally things grow. So I think that you do like bigger, warmer climate regions. But my caveat with that is the world is getting warmer. And there are like historically for all of grape growing life, you can grow grapes between 30 and 50 degrees latitude in the northern and southern hemisphere. But in the last like decade, um, in some places in France that are like the 52, like 53 mark, 55, even places in Germany where like it can only grow in certain parts of Germany, it's getting so warm that it can go a few more degrees. So
Oh,
I think with the world getting warmer, you will like, and the other thought of it is like new world and old world wines, like,
right.
mostly from the new world is California or like Argentina or uh, South Africa or Australia. Those are typically warmer regions. But I think that with things changing climate wise, that you might find things you like from a different region. And sometimes like winemakers hold back on alcohol in order to make a more balanced wine. So I there's a little bit of I don't love it. I want you to like branch out and
Yes.
try other things, but it does make
Totally.
sense why they said that.
Right.
There's
Right. So
there's
there is some
some
context.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Validity to it. So that's good. But you're so right because I have tried stuff with you that I wouldn't normally pick. And we were talking about this very briefly before we hit record, like the wine in, or no, it was during this episode. It's all blending together now. About how intimidating the wine industry can be. And that's why I love that I can read this on the label. But,
Yeah.
so I think that's part of it too, because I'm not a sommelier. I'm not a wine expert. I am so far from, but I love wine and I love the industry and I want to be a part of it. And so that's kind of my guiding light at this point. But will you, I mean, like, do you think, and, uh, and then I want to talk about your whole journey here, but real quick, like the new world, old world, I've been thinking about lately and I'm like, what do I like? I feel like I just kind of buy because I'm here in California, but I mean, can you just talk about the difference of those two?
Yeah. I mean, on its most simple scale, old world wines are Europe and new world is anywhere else in the world that makes wine. So, um, this grape Cabernet Sauvignon originated in the Bordeaux region of France. Like that's where the clone was made hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. That's where it originally was. So when, they went over to Napa and they saw that this was a similar region, that's why it ended up getting planted there, because it's trying to emulate where it originally came from. So I have hella respect for, the old world. I'm classically French trained, as you know. So I'm partial to old world because I think that it, how do I say this? It it classically tastes from there. Like in a sommelier exam, like I can smell a glass and because of X, Y, and Z characteristics, it's got the wet leaves, it's got the dark fruits, it's got a little bit of pencil shavings, it's got kind of this greenness to it, depending on which side of the bank it is. Like classically, you can stick your nose in a glass, and that is what it's supposed to smell like. And so you can blind call that's from Bordeaux, for example. In the New World, there's not as many rules. So, and like I always come back to this, like in France, there's not a word for winemaker because it doesn't matter. There's a French word called terroir, which is one of my favorite words. It's a sense of place. So the wine should taste like a particular place in a particular time in a particular year. And the only thing that should really change is the vintage. So it's this like romantic vibe of like it doesn't matter, it's the soil, it's the land, this is what I'm presenting to you. So, and there's the total opposite take for New World where you're super creative and the winemaker has prestige and title and the ability to change things. Like there's no rules about oak aging, right? So you can have as much or as little as you want. You can be creative. You can make blends that don't make sense because it makes sense to you, where that would never happen anywhere in the world. So it's very polarizing, and they're just different. But my biggest advice to you and anybody, this is getting very deep and not like it's not as complicated, but knowing what you don't like is almost better than knowing what you like. So if you can describe what you don't like to somebody like me, then okay, I'll stay away from those boxes, but I'm going to push you into these camps, right? I'm going to keep pushing your boxes because you don't even know you don't like something until you try it.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow.
But
Fascinating.
there's a whole world out there to try.
There is a whole world. I know. I mean, I sometimes think about like taking classes to learn more. I feel like I will just because I'm very curious and would like to learn more. But it feels really vast and extensive and again, intimidating, but I'm really interested in it. And I just love learning from somebody like you because I just could listen to you talk about wine all the time. Like it's so great and it's so educational. And I'm like seriously loving this wine, Kate. This is so good. Like, and I know you launched with your rosé, right?
I did. Yeah. So I also have a rosé. I should have grabbed a bottle to show you guys. But so the rosé I launched, all of this happened in COVID in hindsight. So I started in 2019 and then the wine was ready April 1st of 2020. So
wow,
that was our launch date. And so we launched with the rosé, which I love. Like I love rosé. I think more people should drink rosé. I think that it is a wine that can go with everything, and you don't even know that it can go with everything, because, again, a little bit of science-y. So rosé is red wine, grapes made like a white wine. So you kind of have the perfect world of everything. You have red wine grapes that can pair with like heartier dishes, but you also have it in a light and bright style that can go with really light dishes or on its own. Or like one of the hardest things to pair ever is charcuterie because you have a bunch of different things on a plate, which people don't think it is. You have like, usually a cheese and a meat and some sort of acid, right? Whether it be an olive or a pickle or mustard. And then you got sweetness and nuttiness and crackers and herbs and spices. Like you literally have everything, and it's the hardest. Like nothing goes with charcuterie, really. But you
Right.
take a rosé, and you know it can pair with all of those different things, and you don't even realize that it does, because if you have
Wow.
like a Cabernet, it might go really well with like one of the smoked meats you have, but it doesn't go well with like the mustard spread. And it kind of like
Totally.
throws off your palate, and you don't really
Yes.
realize it, but it does.
Right. This happened to me last night. So I was at my cousin's house and they had some meat and cheese, and I brought over an Austin Hope Chardonnay. And I was eating like the pepperoni and I was like, this is not tasting great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had like a pepper jack, which the pepper jack cheese I felt was like really good with the Chardonnay. So then I just ate that and nothing else, because I was like, everything else is not tasting great. So that's a really good point. Why would am I like onto anything there with my palate of Chardonnay with pepper jack?
What was the base? Jack cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I haven't had Austin Hope Chard in a while, but I want to say that it's fully mellowed and has some oak content. So
Yes.
those two structured things can pair up to the spice. And then the Jack base is like complementing the like butter base of the Chardonnay, because I mean, if you want to go, we're getting like real into this whole wine conversation. So there's like camps of pairing, right? So like one of the camps is like similar things. So if you have something like rich and buttery, you want to pair it with something rich and buttery, or opposites attract, right? So you have something, super sweet with something super spicy. And then you won't taste the sweet because the spicy is balancing it. And then, other things like there's a saying, if it grows together, it goes together. So like Chianti and pizza, because it's made in the same region by the same people. Historically, those flavors would go together because the tomato, what's it called? Like a
Like a
farm
plant?
pat? No, like a whole
Oh.
acres of tomatoes.
Oh,
farm?
uh-huh.
I don't know the word for
No idea.
tomato pasture.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of near where the grapes grow. So, those similar soil types and everything that gets into them. And then you make the same food. So there's just some camps of where that is. But yes, I started with a rosé.
That is amazing. Yes. And that's something. So I have to remember that, because there are a lot of sweet rosés, but what I'm starting to learn is that they're not all sweet. Like you they got a bad rap, I feel like. And anytime now that I have a charcuterie board, I'm going to have rosé. I'm going to have strawberry wine rosé. And that's what I'll order when I'm out too, because it's such a good point. It does not pair with everything and stuff doesn't taste great. And then, fascinating.
Yeah. So, I launched with the rosé because I truly believe in rosé, and I have this whole like Instagram campaign that I try to get on that's like real men drink pink. Like I want to change the concept of anybody drinking pink. Like pink can be drank anytime, any place, anywhere. So fully support that. So my rosé is made with Petit Verdot grapes, which is a kind of really unique grape. Most rosés are Pinot or like a blend, like a Grenache-based blend, which is also mimicking a region that does only rosé, and that's why it's a Grenache-based blend. But yeah, it's made of single varietal Petit Verdot, which is very hard to find a Petit Verdot of anything. It's normally a blending grape. You see it a lot with Cabernet. They're kind of like buddies. So it's really cool. It's a little bit more structured of a rosé, which is why it can pair with a lot of different things. So yeah, I launched that in April of 2020, and it was just a crazy time.
Oh my God. So we have to talk about that. And I'm also regretting that I should have got a rosé and we should have tasted both. So I'm going to get a rosé from you, and I'm going to need another bottle of this. Like, I love it.
Please.
Oh my God, I love it. So, okay, you launched in a crazy time. So you take us through this journey of starting Strawberry Wine Company. Like, when did you know you wanted to create a wine? And then obviously you reached out to your Paso Robles guy, winemaker, like, let's do it. Take us through kind of that journey.
So, kind of backstory. I mean, I've been in the wine industry almost 10 years, working, and I do it as my day job, right? So I am start to finish wine all the time. So, and I'm also a huge music fan and a huge concert goer, like huge, a couple times a month kind of thing before the pandemic. So
Yeah.
and like my favorite genre of music is country. So I was at a concert, I think it was October 2019, maybe September, and I was sitting there and I wanted a glass of wine. And I went up to the bar and I saw my options presented to me, whose names will remain nameless.
Yep.
And I was like, is this it? Like, really? That
Right.
is my,
But wait,
but
let's name
because
them. Like,
no.
okay, okay. Okay, fine. But
It's a
people know you've
mainstream,
been in that spot. It's
it's
like,
a mainstream
yeah,
brand that most people would know. And for a wine snob like myself, I was like, oh my God, I don't want a glass of this right now. So I'm sitting
right.
there, and like the reason I like country music is because I grew up on it, my whole family listens to it. Like I'm very old school, like I know all the way back and like all the way forward. So
Love it.
when I was growing up, like music really, and this goes across all genres because I've heard this recently, across all genres, people used to talk about beer. They used to talk about, gin and juice. They used to talk about every total different type of alcohol. And it's very recently that I'll hear song after song after song, like glass of wine,
Mm,
wine. Okay. So then my little brain went, wait a minute. What? Like it's come all the way through mainstream music that people are talking about wine, right? And
yep.
like I have this like Spotify pod podcast list where I like heart songs that mention wine, and it's like hundreds deep now, like
Wow.
hundreds. So I'm sitting there and I'm like kind of making this connection. And if you know anything about old school country music, not only are they referencing wine, they're referencing this 90s song by Deanna Carter called Strawberry Wine. And they're talking about it. Chris Stapleton has that huge song, Tennessee Whiskey. And like they just mention it because it plays twofold. It's like mentioning old school country music, but like, let me pour you a glass, or you're as sweet as strawberry wine. And it's like this
Mhm.
concept, right? So it's this concept of strawberry wine. And in hindsight, it's not the best name because my biggest barrier to entry is like, oh, is that made with strawberries? And I'm like, no.
Right.
But then I like go through this whole process and explain. I'm like, no, it's like a reference. It's like a moment in time that references a lot of different things. So I heard 3 songs that night that mentioned strawberry wine. And I was like, hmm.
Wow.
So that was the name behind it. And it kind of combines all these things that I love and I'm passionate about. And I found that when I told this story to people that liked both of these things, they were like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
totally get it. I'm totally on board. And so it has like a country-esque vibe, but it's really designed to, I mean, I launched in COVID, but I wanted this in every music venue across the US. Like, I wanted a good product. Like, the vision behind it was eventually to be in festivals, to do things, I might start canning because I want it approachable, but I want good wine approachable. And
Yeah.
so, and then that comes down to like, okay, let's go back to the wine side. So I wanted tasting notes on the bottle that like told people what it was.
Yeah.
And, you get that personal touch with taking it to, I tasted it a lot across a lot of different people, and I wanted non-wine people to think that it was good, right? Like I
Right.
wanted people like we all have those different friends, right? I call it like my shelf friends. So
Yeah.
I have a whole wine cellar in my house, and
Yeah.
it has different shelves. And when you come over, you know what shelf level you are, and you can pull anything off of that shelf. Not necessarily, I mean, it's not always price point based, but it's like appreciation based. Like, you're not going to pull off that $300 bottle of wine if you're not going to enjoy. I would be happy to share with it. But if you like that just as much as the $10 one on the shelf, like, by all means. So I
Right.
wanted it approachable across all different palettes, all different price points, and to just have good wine. So that's the concept. And then the next day, I called one of my good friends. He's the wine boss, and he's based in Paso Robles. His name is Thomas Booth. And I was like, "You're the first person I called. What do you think? Can we do this?" And he goes, and my personal Instagram handle is Wine Sass. So like Wine Sass and Wine Boss like teamed up together. And so he helps make the wine. He's based in Paso Robles. So and he helps me, and I'm based in San Diego, and we just kind of like he just told me, and like, "No, you're not crazy. Let's do this." And that's literally the extent of the conversation. And I just kind of jumped right in, like, off the deep end, and I was like, "Oh, okay, wow." Okay, so now we gotta, it's gone through like 7 label changes because X, Y, and Z didn't get approved by the TTB, and what you can and can't put on labels, and
Mm.
so that's kind of the story. How it's
Oh my God.
created.
Yeah. I mean, fascinating. I bet you have learned so much through this journey and have gone through so much during this
Yes.
journey. Okay. So then, especially because of the country music concert roots to this, that adds such a bigger element with COVID, obviously. So you're launching April. There's no event centers, but obviously this is coming back. Thank God.
Right.
This is like people are coming back together. I seriously, Kate, I'm like, how can I help you get this on? I see it. I see it on when you go up to order wine or beer. It's always the beer. It's never good wine. And I'm always
Yep.
saying to Dustin, I'm like, oh, I try it. The canned wine is kind of coming around, and I've had some that I really like. I feel like that can work for some of the, concerts and stuff. But I could just see this, and people are going to be reading the back of the bottle, and you've got these country boots on here, and it's just like that connection. And then it's a fucking good wine. And people are like, finally,
Yeah.
I have a good wine at a venue like this, because why do we serve such shitty shit? It's so bad.
Well, I know why, because I'm on the inside of the industry, but it's
Oh,
marketing dollars, it's who pays to be there.
right,
And I
right.
don't think it should be. I think that you
Amen.
can have a better product and a better time.
Yep.
Even if you like sneak this into the parking lot, that's the vibe that I want for this brand. Like, I want it smuggled into places, because I know how much shit I have smuggled into venues, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I want this, like, in your fake hairbrush. Like,
Right. You sell that as an accessory with the
yeah,
wine.
like if
Oh
it's
my
a
God.
whole bottle of wine and you pour it in, just happen to have
That
airbrush
is
next to me.
amazing.
But
Oh
I
my God, I love
definitely
it.
have poured alcohol into a fake hairbrush before. So hey,
Yeah. Hey,
they don't check it. So
right. So there's a pro tip.
yes.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so I'm loving this whole concept, and where I'm loving this wine. Now, where are you going from here? Like, are you, obviously I see some of this vision, but like, where are you today?
So today I mean, it feels like things are coming back. Like, I don't know when this will air, but I'm working our first festival next weekend at the Encinitas Food and Wine Festival. So I will be there,
Yay!
like, pouring my wine and, getting it in front of hundreds of people, which feels so exciting. Like, I am
Yes.
so beyond over the moon. I'm excited to do that. So I'm just trying to do events and get it in front of people, because I think that when you taste it, it's been all online. Like, all sales, all everything, all content has been 100% online, which I
Right.
think everyone is so forgiving. And, I think that's just like, we're going to know that that's the world that we're going to live in going forward. But I'm so excited to get it in people's glasses and kind of make that happen. And then we're literally, waiting on a text from my winemaker of when harvest is starting. So that's super exciting because we live in California and harvest
Yep.
can start, the end of August through the end of October. So as far as 2021 going forward, we'll make a new rosé, which is super exciting. I definitely want to do another red. I am not married to doing another Cabernet, although I would 100% love to because I'm obsessed with it. But I might play around with a blend
Okay.
because I think that can be fun. And then hopefully next month, I will be launching a Sauvignon Blanc. So,
Ooh.
I know. I guess you're the first person to actually hear this. I was gonna
Oh my
keep it to
God.
myself and not tell any sort of platform what it actually
Oh,
was, but I guess I get a glass of wine in me and I get loose lipped. But
hey,
yes,
we're uncorked.
so yeah, Sauvignon Blanc is coming next, and then
Wow.
the rosé will come out first, and then we'll decide what we're doing for the cab. I have dreams of canning. I have dreams of sparkling wine. I have dreams of, scaling this to million case production so that I can be in every venue across forever. But right now we're just teeny tiny and, working out of the garage. So
Yeah. That's how it all starts.
yeah.
That's how it all starts, which I so love. Like, that's where watching this on the outside, I'm so inspired. I am so proud of what you are doing. Like, I say proud in the sense of like, it's purely from my heart of watching what you have created and what you're doing. And it's really inspirational. And you obviously know your shit. Like, we need somebody cause you are younger. I talked to another sommelier a few weeks ago. It'll air actually, this week as we're filming this. And we talked about like being a woman in the industry, and we talk a little bit about being young in the industry.
Oh,
Like,
I have
you're both.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah. I bet you do. Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, so you have felt that
Oh
in
my
this industry.
God. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I don't know how many years we've known each other, but it's been several. And I feel like you have seen the progression of me kind of glow up in the industry.
Yeah.
Because I was a baby when I started and had no idea what I was doing. And, I remember looking up the stats of the year that I started in this industry, and it was 4% women, like across the board.
Wow.
And, it was crazy. And the pushback that you feel, and in my professional world, I have a pretty position of power in that, like, when you become a buyer in this industry, like my palate and what I taste makes your paycheck. So if you're trying to sell something to me,
Right.
I have to like it. And because of a bunch of different circumstances, I became a buyer really young. And I think for a couple years, I was the youngest female wine director in San Diego. And that was a lot, and then dealing with, I mean, you are very familiar with where I used to work, and I'd stand there and I'd have people come and taste me on it, and I'd be standing with the two male owners, and the buyer or the person trying to sell me something would just look at the men the whole time and not even acknowledge me or make contact with me. And there was a couple times where my owners would be like, well, she makes the decisions, and they'd walk away, and I'd negotiate price and all of these different things. And I'd be like, I don't want to buy from you. You didn't even show me one
Right.
iota of respect this entire time. So I have the power not to have it. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
it's not as if I need something or I want something, or if it's in the right price point, it doesn't have to do with that salesman's product, right? But
Right.
it's crazy. It's been an interesting journey to kind of get to where I am now. And be a female sommelier. Like I passed my certified a couple years ago. And so now I'm officially a certified sommelier through the Quartermaster Sommeliers. And it takes a lot of work. And, I think that even this conversation is, it's interesting because we all make it sound easy. Like, this is hard. For anybody that makes it sound easy, this is not easy. It's hard. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress, right? Like I work a regular full-time plus job and trying to run a business and trying to do all of these things. And, it's an interesting industry. It's one of the best, but the culture can create, like, it's alcohol, so it can create a lot of different negative connotations to it, and seeing people like flux in and out of that. And I think it's also one of like the most industries that has the most like depression and anxiety and all of these like stressful things. The reason I took this new job is because, as like for 5 years, I was working nights, weekends, and holidays and missing every single opportunity with my family and my friends. But thankfully, I became family and friends with the people I worked with and I served. But
Right.
if it wasn't for that, like my guests and I still call them my guests, even though I'm in retail now. But, that's what makes it, like, seeing somebody light up and like take note of what we're doing and just like have that moment of like, wow, like that's so cool. Like that has always been a great, like to share a glass of wine with somebody is the greatest feeling in the entire world. There's
Mm,
literally nothing better to have a
yeah.
conversation and wine and share and connect with somebody. They're like,
Yeah.
that's what makes it worth it in this industry. So
Oh, amen, sister. Amen. I can't agree more. And that's where I'm so excited for your festival in Encinitas, because you will
yeah,
be pouring your wine and having people taste your wine in front of you. Like you haven't had that opportunity too much to experience
no.
that, which is such a bummer because you did this whole big creation and you had a baby and it's like
Hmm.
nobody could see the baby for like over
Yeah,
a
and I'm
year.
just like over here behind a screen, like, hi,
Yes,
my product, please.
right.
Like, hi, I hope you like
Yes,
these.
yes,
Yes, I
seriously.
am thrilled. I am so
Yeah.
excited. So if anybody wants to come to the Encinitas Wine Festival, please do.
Yes. Oh my God. I'll definitely post about it. And it's next weekend, right?
Yes, the 18th.
Okay. Okay. So this will air after that. I'm going to try my hardest to attend that because I would really like to go to it. I have to tell you, Kate, I have had so many chills as you have said things, which I'm a little like hippie, if you would call it hippie. I always pay attention to like how our body responds to things. And it's like, oh, that's meaningful. That's meaningful. Um, your story and what you're doing, I just feel like is so aligned with what you should be doing. You're so talented. You have such a great heart. Like, I love that you're just following your passion. And I seriously, I had so many chills throughout this conversation. Um, and also, what was I going to say? Because I was just thinking, I'm like, seriously, I love, love,
You are
love.
literally making me blush so hard right now, but just
Oh
pour
my
yourself
God.
some more wine.
I know, seriously. I told Dustin, you have to try this wine too, but only a little because I'm going to have the rest. It is so fucking good. But for you to just bring this, follow your heart, it's seriously inspirational. Oh, this is what I was going to say is that people probably don't know that you're buying, you mentioned this briefly, but you are buying for 10 locations. And so you have a full-time job that you're
Oh, yeah.
managing. Yeah. And you are also a business owner. You are a multi-passionate entrepreneurs, I like to call them. Like you have a lot going on. That's a lot to take on, but I love that you're doing it. You're not afraid. You're going for it. You're following your heart. You are creating some really amazing wine for us to experience. I'm not a big white wine fan, but I love my favorite Sauvignon Blanc. So I cannot wait. I can't wait
I
I'm
know.
so excited.
I can't believe I stole the secret, but you're
I
so
love
worth it.
You're hearing it first. It's so exciting.
You really, really are.
Um,
There's like
it's,
2 other people that know about this. It's my graphic
oh,
designer and my winemaker. So that's huge.
love. Love, love,
Um,
love. Oh, I thought of something too. I'm going to be doing a virtual wine tasting. And I was like, maybe I want to do like more virtual wine tastings. And I kind of asked my audience and people were like, yes. So I'm kind of putting you on the spot. And if you say no to me, we can cut this. But like, what if we did a strawberry wine,
Absolutely.
wine? Okay. Cause then we could do like a few different and people can get the bottles and then we could be together and you could walk us through it all online.
100%. 100%. Yes,
Okay.
I
Oh
love
my
to
God.
do that. I love to do that because
Okay.
that's what I do in my everyday world, right? So I
Right.
love sharing that, especially,
Oh my
when
God.
it's mine.
I would love that so much because really like you're going to be the best person to take us through these bottles and just the magic and the love. And that would be so fun for my audience. Kate, before we sign off, so first I want to just say strawberrywinecompany.com is where you can learn more. You can also shop there. And Kate, we talked about too, like what's the best way for people to buy your wine?
So online or in stores, but online 100%. And Instagram is always best because you might not feel like you're talking to the person, but like I am the person on the other side of that screen. So please follow me and talk to me. And I try to message every person that follows me and just like welcoming you. And like, I would just love to have a conversation with you and, make that personal connection. So, on Instagram at strawberrywinecompany.com. I am the gal behind the screen.
I love it. I love it, which is really special. I think people have to follow you. I love following along the behind the scenes and highly recommend trying the wine. We're going to do a virtual wine tasting. So if you're trying with me and with Kate, that would be super fun. Yes. One last cheers, Kate. This was so
Cheers.
awesome. Cheers. All right. So stay tuned for our wine tasting date. We will put it on the calendar.
Yes.
Kate is a wealth of information. I'm kind of offering this up for people, but I feel like they could maybe ask you some questions too if they have a question about which wine to try. And
100%. Yeah. Personal sommelier at your service.
Oh my God. Oh, dang, girl. That's pretty powerful there. I love it. Also,
you're like
when
texting
you're saying,
me drunk, like, what
exactly.
What bottle should I choose? I'm like, okay, how many of you? Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned with Strawberry Wine Company and the song, the old country song, and you said it's a moment in time, which, I just feel like that should, maybe I'm giving you unsolicited advice, but maybe on a bottle or a slogan or some kind of campaign around that. Like, that's really powerful. That was one of those moments where I had chills, like head to toe chills of you talking about that. So
yeah, and I mean, being a small business owner it's a work in progress, and anything in the bottle can change next vintage. I'm just, didn't know it works, didn't know it does, but yeah, I feel like when you can explain it, and it's just this like moment and opportunity to enjoy, and I want every bottle to create a memory.
Yes, which I love. I love so much. Congratulations. I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see where this goes. I feel like it will go very far and I'm going to want like a signed bottle and I knew her when and I'll be like, I interviewed her and she announced her Sauvignon Blanc on my show. Like, I knew her when. So thank you so much for your time, your knowledge, for sharing this, and everyone else. You got to go to strawberrywinecompany.com, follow at Strawberry Wine Company on Instagram, and I will see you on the next See You. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Are you on Instagram? I'd love to see pictures of you listening to the show, a screenshot of your favorite episode, and/or your favorite wines. Share them with me. Just follow and tag at Crystal Uncorked. I can't wait to see you there. All right, I'll see you on the next See You.